Hi.
Hi.
A couple of notes were being recorded so that people can see the tour even if they weren't able to attend today. So, feel free to use the chat, or if you would rather your voice not recorded, or you can turn on your video or not, depending on that comfort level. And this is the West Side second story. Last year we had it on the tour. Behind the scenes and showed the construction side of it. This is what the house looked like from the front. It looks pretty similar from the front now, some new landscaping and such. And then this is what it looked like at the back before we built a two-story addition on it, and sort of in the beginning of construction, obviously there. And then as we moved forward, it started to look like that and had views coming out. One of the reasons for it's a typical sort of war box style home. And they really wanted to expand. They just needed more space, 700 or 800 square feet type war box. And really wanted a proper dining room and a primary suite and capturing the views that they could get from the second floor out over the Sound. So starting from, actually we'll start from this picture. So this is what it looks like finished on the back side. And then we can start from the back deck and then turn around and come into the space. And you sort of walk straight into a desk area and a dining space. So this is all new. And then we had a new staircase down to the basement. The kitchen primarily stayed the same. We just did new backsplash. The cabinets all stayed the same. We did a couple little end panels and such. We did a backsplash and a new counter that kind of created a little island stick out so that there could be seating there right at the stairs. And then it went into the existing house with a small living room and a couple of bedrooms and bathroom that we didn't really do anything in. Left all that to itself. And then we can go upstairs. This is kind of a cool view of the downstairs. You have this little cutout, and it makes for this just kind of a neat architectural feature. And then into the master bedroom. So that's all in here with the deck and the views, which are spectacular. We used a French sliding door on this so that you could really sort of maximize the view without like having doors opening into the space, which is really nice. And then it scrolled over, I think he put photos. Oh, I don't know why that didn't work. And then the primary bathroom is in there, and I have some photos of what that looks like. Here. There's the master bedroom again, and then the bathroom we reused the homeowner had found an antique dresser to be used for the vanity, but she refinished herself, and then we plumbed toilet area, and then the shower. A two-head shower with sliding glass, sort of the barn glass doors. In the house, so that's sort of the overview. I think in here, the dining area, you can see that we used an infrared radiant ceiling panel to heat the whole addition. The homeowner already had radiant wall heaters in the main part of the house, so this just sort of added on to the addition with the infrared. We Didn't really feel like we would need a heat pump because we were building it so tight and so well that with and so much better insulated than the primary house had been, that we figured that the heat pump was unnecessary. Um, and plus, you also get some afternoon winds a little bit up in that area to help cool things down. There's LED lighting throughout. Um, it's an all electric home, so that contributes to not having to mine or frack for fossil fuels. Um, we use a product called Glavel. It's an insulated glass gravel that we use underneath the slab of the addition. So it's a more of a one-step process to the space, or to building the insulation slab up instead of having to use gravel and insulation. And then there's lots of great features inside that we use, like instead of, she already had hardwoods in the main living space, so we just brought those out into the dining area and matching those up, and then carried that same look upstairs. Obviously, all of that product is new, but instead of sort of replacing everything to match, that was good use. Obviously, we used the kitchen cabinet stayed in place, so that was a low materials use function. And look at my list, see if there's other things. Oh, and then one of the other nice features about this project, and we'll go back to the Matterport here and go downstairs. The bottom of the stairs, and then there's another pair elsewhere. There's this thing called a Lunos. Let me see if I can go down the stairs and get a better view of it. Yeah, so this little square here is paired with another square, and it provides the whole house ventilation, and it's a heat recovery ventilation, so that when air is going out, it is capturing the heat that's in the space, and then as air comes in, then it is heating the air that's coming in, so that you're not getting cold drafts with your heat recovery or with your ventilation system. I think there's other systems that are like whole house that are ducted, and those can get really expensive because there's a lot of labor in doing all that duct work, where especially in additions or smaller homes, using Lunos in pairs where one is pulling out and one is pulling in pretty much all day long, then those function really well. We really like those. They're an easier install and less expensive overall. Yeah, we use hardy siding on the outside and Burrell trim, and Burrell is made from ash fly. Is that the right word? Fly ash, sorry, I was saying that the wrong way, which is 70% recycled content. And one of the things that we really like about the Burrell trim too is that if dirt gets up against it, like on a door trim, for instance, it's not going to rot as quickly or get damaged as quickly as other products. But it paints out like wood, and it looks really nice. So that's kind of an overview. Of course, we use low VOC paints throughout, and high efficiency toilet and so forth. Do you have any questions?
Am I the only one here?
There is one other person on the call, yeah.
Okay. So what was the existing siding, and did you just kind of match it?
No, we used hardy siding on the back side. The existing siding is cedar on the front of the home. Here's the front again. It was just that tall lap siding. Typical.
Oh, so that's cedar though, right?
Yeah, that was cedar. And since the addition was all off the backside, it really felt like, I mean, here's the existing house, but that's this is the only, it's really only from the backyard that you're ever going to see the existing house and the addition together. And so it really didn't make a big impact.
So how long did the design process take?
You know, when we came to the project, there was already architectural drawings done, and it was, I believe, in permitting stage. A couple of years ago now that we started that conversation. Um, and but then we had some back and forth over like, okay, what are we putting into it? Like we know what the design is and we know what the structural is, but what is the finish going to look like? What kind of windows, what kind of doors, and all of that conversation. And the homeowner was really great at doing research and picking out what she wanted and had a real clear vision for her finishes uh, and so she just did it all herself. And a lot of times, at that stage, people will get overwhelmed and decide to hire that out to an interior designer if their architect isn't someone who provides that service.
Mhm.
And so I think from the time she approached us to the time we started building was maybe 9 months, 6 months, 9 months.
Mhm. And was the architect involved through construction?
Not really. We didn't really need him much. You know, I mean, sometimes architects like to be involved and sometimes they are like available if needed. And, you know, between the structural and um, a few minor changes we needed to make, there wasn't anything substantive that we really needed to involve him on. But yeah, Leo Smith was the architect. Leo Smith Architects, I think,
Mhm.
is the name of his firm, and he's based in West Seattle and Walla Walla. He goes back and forth a little now.
Mm.
Yeah, and I feel like it was a solid design. You know, it was and it worked for the house, and I like how it integrated. For some reason, we didn't get the shot from the front of the house. You can just like barely see that there's a second story from the front of the house. It's
Mm.
just really this little area here that you see from above the roof line on the front. So it's really kind of a sweet little fit into the property. Um, yeah, yeah. So we didn't really need them. It was good. We had good design. The structural engineers went a little over the top on some stuff, but they always do. we it's usually by the time you see their drawings and see that they've gone a little over the top, it's more expensive than to have them like rethink it than it is to just buy those materials and do it. And so yeah, we had the double the French sliding French door both on both levels. And so then those doors both open to the end panels and you really have that nice wide opening. It's like 5 or 6 feet. Can't remember if her was a 10-foot overall or a 12-foot overall, but
Mhm.
it's a really nice big opening that sort of starts to feel like those nano walls and those really fancy, hugely expensive opening. You start to really feel like that indoor outdoor space, but without the expense. Like nano walls can start at like 20 or $30,000, and these door systems are more in the $8,000 to $10,000 range. So still not pocket change, but a lot less. Yeah, I think one of the things that I that I appreciate and what always helps to make a project stand out is how it's finished as well. And I really appreciate the finishings and selections that she made. It was unique and fun and fitting for the house. Um, so one of the nice features about being an all electric house and having the different either wall or ceiling infrared heaters is that each room can be controlled as to how you like it. So, and when you use it. And so what we usually recommend is that people have their thermostats always set at about 62 degrees so that if it gets lower than that in a particular space, you're helping to combat any moisture and condensation and mold development. Um, that could occur in too cold a space. And that's per American Lung Association recommendations. But then if you know you're only in your bedroom for, you only need your bedroom heated for like 3 to 4 hours a day, you can program your thermostat to just be on from, 30 minutes before you get up to when you typically leave. And then when you're in there in the evening time, and not have it above 62 in that space the rest of the day, where you might be, especially nowadays with people working from home and schooling from home, you might be in your living room most of the day now, on your dining room and kitchen area, and have that thermostat on all day, and then keep other spaces lower too. So you can really adjust on how you use the space. One of the things that we also have the infrared heaters in our house, and what I really appreciated is when my in-laws came, who are from the desert area, we didn't have to keep our room at 72 degrees all night long, like they liked their room anymore, which we did when we originally had a furnace. We'd have to crank the furnace like all day long to make them not be freezing cold up here.
Mhm.
So that's an added benefit about people having different tolerances. Is there a project you have in mind that you were particularly interested in coming to see this site?
No, I'm actually, well, I'm an architect and I've gotten your name from other architects and I have some potential projects. I think I just wrote you a few days ago.
Maybe. My
Yeah.
life
It's
this
backyard
last week
garden.
has been crazy.
What?
My life this past week has been nutty, so
Yeah,
I'll make sure to take a look for that.
yeah. So, and I'm in West Seattle. I'm a West Seattle architect, so I like to see, other work.
Yeah, yeah. There's several projects on the tour this year that are in West Seattle. It's
Yeah.
funny because we usually try to like make sure we have nodes of projects in neighborhoods,
Hmm.
and because that makes commuting to them easier for tour goers when we're
Yeah.
actually out on streets.
Hmm.
And it doesn't really matter this year. In fact, we were talking, Doug and myself, who own the company together, came down to our office to do the tours because we have better internet bandwidth here than at our house. And, um, and we were commenting that I think if the tour had been able to be live today, we would have had to cancel because of all this smoke.
Oh, for
People
sure.
have wanted to be out and
Well,
about.
and the bridge
Homeowners
is,
have wanted doors open all day long and stuff like that.
yeah, and the bridge is also a problem now.
Yes, the bridge has its things. Yeah. I think one of the things that I've been seeing though is that we really have had a high increase of mostly West Seattle and Burien people contacting us.
Yeah.
I think, when they see a like-minded competitor is in Ballard or Laurelhurst or somewhere north of downtown, they're like, they won't want to come to West Seattle. I won't even
Well,
bother reaching
yeah,
out.
they didn't want to come before the bridge problem. I mean, I had a hard time getting
Yeah, right.
contractors interested in any West Seattle projects just because it was West Seattle. Now,
Now we might as well be Northern California.
yeah.
People in Ballard used to consider us as far as Tacoma. And I've had lots of people say that, God, it's just as bad as getting to Tacoma as it is to getting to West Seattle.
Well, it is. It's actually faster to get down to Tacoma now than to go to
Yeah,
North Seattle.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So good. Yeah. Is there anything, it's kind of funny because on the tour itself, you can kind of walk around and look at specific things that you're interested in by yourself without having to be asked to be shown. But is there anything you would like to look at more closely?
No, thanks. No, it was good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, it was a fun project. Took about typical time, about 6 months. Um, we started it in January and had a couple of weeks slowdown because we did have snow that year. And while all my crew could get there, we were at the foundation point. And our concrete contractor was feeling confident at the temperatures we had at the time to do the work, but the concrete trucks couldn't get up West Seattle. And and so we had to delay for that until they felt confident in getting on those roads again, getting up the hill. I could take this moment to also thank our sponsors for the tour: Green Home Solutions, Dunn Lumber, Pathway, 475 High Performance Building Supply, and Green Tools, and of course yours truly with Mighty House. Actually, a lot of the products that you see in our project here, we procured through High Performance Building Supply. They really are a fantastic source for us. Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, we enjoyed building the addition. It was designed by Leo Smith Architects, the West Seattle and Walla Walla architect. And projects in West Seattle, sort of the southmost end of California Avenue. If you're excited by things like the Green Home Tour and seeing and hearing about projects, we have our Green Building Slam coming up in October. It's all virtual this year, so instead of making people sit at their computer for 4 hours, we're splitting it up into 2 evening events, Tuesday, October 13th and Tuesday, October 20th, I think. There'll be 5 projects each night that kind of do like a TED Talks on green building, where there's just 10 minutes, 10 slides, go fast and furious, and are fairly inspirational stories about projects happening in our region. Is there something in particular on the tour that you're looking at getting information about today?
Not really, just overall.
Yeah.
Everything out.
Yeah. This project is in West Seattle, sort of the southern end of California Avenue. So a little less built up area than the northern end of it. Are you in the Seattle area?
Yes, I'm in Greenwood.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Have you been considering projects for your home that you're trying to get ideas about, or?
I'm actually a remodeler, so I'm just trying to up my game here, see what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I'm glad you stopped by. You may be interested, I'm going to put it in the chat here. There's a event coming up in October called Northwest Green Building Slam and Summit. It's a really fantastic opportunity to learn more about green building. It's sort of, the slam part is it's more like a TED Talks for green building. And so you can really just sort of get inspired and excited about different kinds of projects that have happened in our region. And then the summit part is more conferencey, where you can deep dive into different topics. Because everything's virtual, we've spread it out over a 2-week period, which seems kind of crazy, but it means that we're able to have like 2 or 3 presentations a day. And so you can really pick and choose, and we have some sort of early in the morning after maybe you've gotten things rolling on a job site, and then at lunchtime and sort of end of the day as well, so that you have some flexibility of attending those. So I put the link to northwestgreen.org in the chat, and you can check it out there. I really highly recommend you go.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. And just joining the Eco Building Guild is spectacular. Like, the community and the authenticity and people sharing information is just really outstanding in this organization. So I highly recommend you get involved.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. And Helen asked, what kind of toilet washlet is that?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you. I had my mute off because I'm cooking.
It is a Toto toilet. And truthfully, she added the washlet later. So
Oh,
I'm
okay, so
not
it's
sure,
not factory kind of,
but
okay.
it's probably the Toto is my guess because I know.
Right, made for that specific toilet. Got it. I love that deck.
I know.
That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. It provides, you know, it's so great to have the upper and lower so that you get some
Yeah,
upper, but you can also on the lower, but you can also go upstairs. It's a really nice
absolutely.
design. Leo Smith Architects was the architect on
Okay.
it. He was pretty,
Cool.
you know, the design was solid enough that we really didn't need to involve him much during the project.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
What, can you talk about the walls in that again?
Yeah, so we did the smart wall system from 475
Okay.
building, high performance building products. Again, with you know, 2x6 with the Mento on the outside and as shown here. And then we, as the outside vapor barrier, and then we had Intello installed
Okay.
on the inside. And then we used Roxwool insulation, I think mostly throughout.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of sheep's wool, I think, used. We've been using sheep's wool instead of foaming for the air gaps.
Yeah, how's that working out?
It works out great when the insulators remember to do that. That detail doesn't always get
Yeah.
transmitted to their crew, but yeah, it's working out great otherwise.
Is that
And
for
is that
air
your
quality?
Yeah, well, air quality and the foam, like foam foam on so many levels, but
Sturdy.
one of the things, yeah, but it also over time sort of separates
Yeah.
from the wood and creates tiny little air gaps all over the place. And then that has potential for
Yeah.
getting moisture stuck there and then rot.
It's interesting. I came across this, and technically code does not even allow that kind of foam for air sealing. Have you seen that language?
No.
It's like, yeah, you have to use a foam project that expands and contracts with the wood, with the adjacent material next to it.
Well, yeah, I don't know what does, right? Like, I mean, and that's
EcoSeal does. So, you know, something like EcoSeal would.
right. Like if you, that's that like aero barrier stuff. Is that?
No, it's
Oh, right. And
aero barrier will too,
right.
but it has to be elastomeric. And there are only a few products that do that. So it's interesting that it's in our code language. Nobody's doing it. Nobody's holding people accountable for it. But yeah, it does. It separates pretty badly.
Well, and we've entirely stopped using foam for unvented roofs too. We just use the sheep's wool and then Gutex. You know, we use the fiber. The roofs entirely. We didn't get a chance to use the wood fiber on the exterior of this edition, but we did on the roof.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
We also used, again, Craig from 475, they also have a product called Glavel, Glavel, and that is, it's recycled glass gravel, basically. So it's looks like a lot like volcanic rock.
Yeah.
And, but it's made from recycled glass. And you can use it as both your gravel and your insulation. Underneath the slab. So it's a one-stop shop.
Laura, do you have off the top of your head any insight of a cost comparison with that kind of Glavel setup versus traditional construction?
Yeah, the product is more expensive, but because we're only managing that space once instead of doing, it's more expensive than gravel, but it was pretty close between the gravel and insulation. Right. And then when you factor in the labor, it saves you money.
Got it. Cool. Good to know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, we love it. We even used the other project we have on the tour had just like a tiny little addition, like a 6x9 or something. Yeah. Entry, and we even used it there. It was just
Tom brought a piece of the Glavel back from the French Daddy you guys did. Yeah, it's on my desk. I was like, this stuff is so cool.
Yeah, I have some too on my desk.
Yeah,
yeah, love it. That and sheep's wool insulation.
Yeah, very cool.
keeping me focused.
Awesome.
I am going to turn my my site over to Doug, who is on his way from one office to here. We're switching sites midway.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna head over to our West Side
Cool.
family.
Oh, that was my first one of the day.
All right, great.
Yeah, I got to see Doug and Nick talk about wallpaper. It was pretty funny.
Fantastic.
Have a good day.
All right. Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. And here's Doug and Bruce and Sharon. Doug and I are just switching sites, and you can take it away.
All right.
Lori or Shannon, if you have any questions or have anything specific that you want to look at, let us know, please, in the chat. Welcome, Chris.
So we're viewing out through the original kitchen and through what used to be a back wall into the now dining area. That is part of the interior house, and none of that was really changed other than the floors were refinished. In the kitchen, the cabinets stayed. We did not exchange those out, but we did put new countertops and backsplash in. We have our nice large doors opening out into the back deck.
So we have a question from Lori, Doug. We live on the west side. How is permitting for this type of addition?
Permitting, I mean, it's fairly easy. You just got to make sure that you have someone who can punch in all the right things with the city, knowing what to say and what not to say. Biggest things are looking for square foot coverage on your particular lot of what you're doing, and going up to existing boundary lines for the addition. But the process anymore, because the city's backed up, it's taking several months to get things to go through that. But whatever architect you hire, they will know how to put things through for the city and get that to going. But we're finding that from hiring your architect to getting plans potentially approved, that could be about 6 months.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks, Lori. I'm going to go back out to the before pictures, folks. Lori and Shannon, once again, if you have any specific questions, any other ones, let us know. Before, front of the house.
Unfortunately, we don't have any afters from the front of the house, but the roof just kind of continues straight up from that existing roof and goes around that chimney. So the chimney was removed and taken out, so it's no longer a useful fireplace. Not like the homeowner ever used it before, because it didn't provide heat other than providing smoke, which currently right now we don't need any more of.
Doug, could you talk a little bit about how you handled heating and cooling integration with existing area, so as not to have temperature differentials in different areas?
The heating, if you want to go inside,
Yeah.
you can look. There really isn't a cooling system, but the heating system is infrared heat panels that are on the ceiling in the master. You can see them on the.
They're right here.
There's a couple in the dining room, and there's a couple in the upstairs bedroom, and those are the heating systems. And those are zonal. So there's a thermostat that controls the bedroom, and there's a thermostat that controls the dining room. So you control each room individually. The rest of the house is electric heat also, but she just had, I think they're just baseboards around. So she didn't want to change any of that out right now. But everything is individual run for each space. And the air filtration system is the Lunos, which are those two little squares in that picture on the wall. And those do the air exchanging in the house. So when one of those is blowing on, the other one is blowing out, and then they switch about every half hour, and to help keep a fresh air mix fully. And so we did those, one upstairs and one downstairs. The walls are, with the systems that we did on there, are very, keep the place very cool in the summer and help keep it warm in the winter, because it has a cellulose blown-in insulation. So it's a dense pack on the walls, but even by having the Mento on the outside and the Intello on the inside, it helps keep the walls, keeps the interior temperature more of what you want without having to need a cooling system in the summer. But that was a system that she didn't want to put in a heat pump system on the house.
Lori, our sister company actually sells the heating panels as well, Mighty Energy Systems. The company that makes them is called Terra. What is it, Doug? Terra. Solterra. Ducoterra. Ducoterra is the people that makes the heating panels. And Lunos is that air exchange system above the beds there, if that was part of your question as well. No, not a repeat at all. Definitely not a repeat. Lori, is there anything else? It looks like you're our only visitor right now. Is there anything that you would like to see specifically?
I'm sorry, I'll unmute that.
No problem. I just don't want to bore you by going back through the same pictures again. If you have anything that you want to see specifically.
Oh no, we came in towards the end, and we live in Bellevue on the east side, and we have a single-story home, and we're thinking about doing when we have currently a flat roof with solar panels. When those go, we want to raise that. One of the problems we've had is that the house was in 1957. We bought it in 2014. It went through 3 different remodels. So every different room has a different temperature system. The living room and the one addition aren't even connected to the heating and the cooling. So we were thinking we were going to raise the roof and redo all that. But now it looks like with this zone system that you have, that might save us doing all that. So that was really interested in. But I'd love to see from the beginning the slides in the beginning.
Yeah, of course.
So, but as far as like the nice thing on the infrared heat panels, it's meant to not be not one thermostat controls your whole house, because a lot of times you're not using your whole house.
Right.
And some rooms you want a higher temperature, some rooms you like a lower temperature. And for some people, like if my parents come out and visit us, they live in Palm Springs, they like it hot. And so when they come out and visit, they want to be in a hotter room. This way they can have their hotter bedroom at night, which they prefer. And I want my windows open even during the winter. So that way everyone can get more of a temperature for the room they want. And then if you're not using a room, you don't need to keep that room at a high temperature. And that's where like a whole house thermostat creates, you're heating your whole house, even though you're not using 80% of it at the time usually.
No, exactly. Because we've already got 2,500 square feet. There's just 2 of us. and I have a medical condition that I can't regulate my temperature. And if I overheat, I just collapse. So
Yeah.
we have troubles where it's a 6-degree differential in different rooms. And now we're finding the summer, like I have to literally hop from room to room, and I'm stuck in a specific room that the AC works best on. I can't go in the middle of the day because it's too hot. And my husband in the living room because he likes it hot. So having this kind of zonal thing would actually be a great solution.
I think of those panels are kind of like, you know, lights for lizards. That it just the radiant heat basks down on you. So it would be.
So the one thing is they're not a cooling system. So if you needed a cooling system, then you would be needing more of kind of a heat pump. And you can get do a ductless heat pump heads that can go to each room. And so you can look and control each room individually, but they are a lot more expensive than just doing the heat panels. So if you're worried about cooling your house during the summer, then that becomes an issue because the heat panels, they can't cool at this point.
Sorry, this is Stephanie. I
No
had
problem.
an issue with the Zoom technical difficulties. So we have a house similar to this, and we're looking to do an addition, and we were planning on moving up, but it won't be for a few years from now. But did all of the bedrooms then move to the second floor?
No, it's just one bedroom. So it's just the master suite up there.
Okay.
The two existing bedrooms that are in the house stayed where they are.
Okay, so they had two of the really small bedrooms on the main level, right?
Your classic 10 by 10 bedrooms on these old house. I mean, the whole house was like 600 square feet.
Yeah, it's slightly. We have a garage. We have an attached garage, so but we live in the same neighborhood, so it's kind of, you know, they're all built in like 1954 or something. They're all almost the same.
The little war box homes, yes.
Yep.
So, sorry. Oh, you can probably hear my kid.
Yeah, whatever. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Yeah. No. That's. I think a neighbor has. Is this Mighty Homes?
Yeah.
Mighty House.
Mighty House. Okay. Yeah. I think you guys did one street over on 32nd or something on the 9400 block a couple years ago.
Yep.
And we like the design, and it looks like you had built out over their garage. So I wanted to see.
One thing to think about anytime if you want to do an addition to your house, if you go directly on top of your existing house, we have to restructure your entire existing house. So potentially foundation and everything else. So this one, we went straight off the back. That way, we're not trying to rework the whole structure of the existing house.
Exactly. No, that's what I saw the plans, like the design plan. And I thought that was interesting that, you just went off the back. So you'd lose a little, it looks like you'd lose some backyard, but probably not that much. And again, we probably, once we went through design and stuff, I don't think we would go over the entire, just like this, it wouldn't go over the entire first floor. It would just probably be like a half or a 2/3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we're fortunate that we have a decent sized backyard, so we can afford to lose some. So, that's one nice thing about the tiny little houses over here is that, but yeah, we have two kids, a boy and a girl, and we figure by the time they're going to be, we don't plan on leaving. So by the time they're going to be older, they're going to want separate rooms. And we do have a finished basement with a room, but it's like, do you really want your kid on the whole basement floor by themselves?
Yeah.
That's where they're moving after college, Mom.
Well, right. Yeah, it's one thing if they're 16, but considering that they're toddlers now, I don't necessarily want them sneaking out of the window at
Well-
age 11 or something when they kind of need their own space.
Well, even if it's on the second floor, they'll figure out how to sneak it,
Oh, for sure. Oh, for sure.
fortunately.
Yeah, it could be, I grew up in apartments, and it's like, I've been in 2 separate like apartment fires, and it's like, I don't want my kids down in the basement, even though there's a window. It's just kind of like one of those little paranoia things.
Yeah.
No,
So
you need to create if they do have a bedroom in the basement, you're supposed to have an egress window put
we
in.
do.
And it helps a lot, but it's still, that becomes your lone spot. But even, you're on the second floor, you have a single window from your bedroom. Now you have a window and going down a story of a house potentially. But it's as long as you have a window that you have egress to get out of in any bedroom is key.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then I think the base, maybe it's, also being a rebellious teenager, it's the basement's a little too closed off from the rest of the house.
I have a 13-year-old that's been sleeping in his tent since the pandemic started. So
Oh yeah,
he hasn't wandered off yet in the middle of the night that I know of.
That's
So
that's good. Yeah. I think I want to say the one bedroom is an 8 by 10. So if you can imagine, trying to get the we can't, it doesn't even fit like a queen bed in it. So with the 2 of them, they're gonna outgrow it in several years. So what is the timeline generally for adding a second floor like that? And is the homeowner required to move out?
So timeline, if you say get an architect and get them started on drawings, it's probably going to be about 6 months until you get approved plans by the city, because there's the architect taking how much time they have to put the plans together, and then the city going through the whole permitting system. And so 6 months is about, it's a range. It might be longer depending upon how long you take with the architect on design. And as far as building, most of these projects will take, something like this could be like 5 to 6 months long. If you do an addition that goes out back or to the side of your house, you can remain in the house the whole time, because the back wall that connected the kitchen to the dining area, we didn't officially open that whole wall up until we were getting ready to start doing finishes. So we left that sealed up. So the homeowner was able to keep a full working kitchen, bedrooms, bathroom, everything was 100% working the whole time in this house.
That's awesome. Yeah, that was that's kind of one of the big deciding factors for us, is the debate my husband and I keep having. I was like, we're not gonna move out. I said, it's one thing if we have to leave for like a couple weeks. I said, but we're not doing
6 months.
out of the house. That wouldn't even remotely be in our budget to do, really. So, to have a second housing, we're not, we even being able to like finance the construction, we would not be able, that would just be too much of an undertaking. So that's one of the big parts for me, is to not uproot the whole family when we start a project like this.
Because we are right now working on another house where we're doing a full second story addition on the existing house, and they had to move out because we're having to rework so much of the main level that it would have been impossible for them to live through it.
Okay, that makes sense.
So anytime you can go to the, outside the main structure, you can go on top of it a little bit. But anytime you can go outside your existing footprint some direction, we don't really affect the living original part of the house until the final connection. Really opening up a wall needs to happen, because it is a headache to have to move out of your house to
Get a new one.
Just to
Yeah.
show it. And then pay for-
Yeah, we had friends that had done a renovation. I was trying to explain. I was like, yeah, but they had to redo their whole foundation. The house was actually sinking. I said, so that
Yeah.
was, I was like, our house is not sinking, and yeah, and I don't think we were doing anything near the level of what they were doing. My dad was a woodworker and redid our house in Florida. And I was like, no, you just put sheets up. So I've got my kids yelling at me. This is awesome. Thank you for your time. This is great being able to participate in this. So
Thanks for coming, Stephanie. We appreciate
thank you
you.
for answering my questions. Thank you so much. They're banging on the walls now. Thank you so much. All right, take care.
Bye-bye. Look, Doug, I made it upstairs. Johnson, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them too. Look, it kind of feels like we're at the tail end here. So if you have anything specific you want to ask or chat about.
Okay, I'd like to ask some questions. I plan on building a smaller home, like a getaway home in the woods. So do I need to put some airflow to keep things from molding when we're not there, or what needs to be done to build? And I also live in Wisconsin, so I'm not there in your same climate as what we have here.
Although your climate is still fairly humid there, right?
Yes, it is.
So you're going to want to do something to create airflow, because if any building, if you just seal it up super airtight, whatever moisture's inside is going to stay there, and then it's just going to eventually build into a mold of some sort. The nice thing is on like the Lunos systems, if you had those, you can keep those running. But because they are a low voltage system, they don't use hardly any electricity. And so you can keep that a little blowing in, a little blowing out, and just kind of keep some air movement throughout the year. You can, if you want to, shut the whole house down, but I would put in like a dehumidifier or something in the space for when you're not using it. Because any new structure you build is usually much more airtight than your classic old cabin in the woods. And so they're going to hold in moisture, whatever's left in the house.
Okay, since we aren't going to bring electricity to it, is it possible just to keep everything on 12 volts and battery that way, or do I need to put solar panels up and bring it up to 110 current, or what do you recommend?
Boy, I don't know. So you were planning on no electricity on the cabin?
Well, to where we're going, it's going to run between $30,000 and $40,000 to bring electricity to it.
Yeah, that adds a chunk of money too. You can, if you wanted to get just a couple solar panels on it, if that would work, because that can run the system, year round, because you're getting enough sunshine to hopefully keep the system going. But otherwise, if you don't want to go through that expense or any of that, I would say there are passive systems you can get that you can open up, I'm blanking the name of what it's called. It's like a trickle vent. And so it's a small vent that actually just allows air to move in and out whenever it wants to. So it'll help keep potential air from just getting humidity from being frozen in the house. But it is just going to bring in cold air. It's going to bring in warm air. So it's not heating or cooling it. But I think if you did a system that's similar to use these products for the outside, like the Mento on the walls and the Intello on the interior, and insulate well. It's a vapor smart system, and it actually lets the house naturally breathe. So it's not holding moisture in places. And so that might be enough for a cabin like that and still keep it good and warm. So if you wanted to go up there during the winter, you feel like you're not going to freeze to death.
Okay, well, that's good information.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions?
Hey, Bruce, see that you've joined us. If you have any specific questions, let us know. I was just running through some of the before pictures there. We can show you some of the after ones as well.
Thank you, guys.
So here we go. Thanks. Here was the finished with the covered back deck, the dry back deck. Matching doors to open up the whole back of the house. The kitchen pretty much stayed the same for this remodel, except for the counters.
And the backsplash.
Oh, and the backsplash too.
But otherwise, those are the existing cabinets.
Mhm.
And that's it used to be the back wall of the house, and there was a back door there. There was a small, actually it was a pretty good size enclosed back porch that completely uninsulated and unheated. So it was freezing during the winter and hot during the summer.
Mhm.
But that was how the homeowner got from the house into the basement.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I love the scope of your projects and what you're showing. Just working with these spaces and, just not having to destroy everything, just staying, within the basic kind of confines of what some of these projects involve, if I'm getting that right.
So we just didn't, everyone's different, and this homeowner didn't want to rework the entire house. It's a small house. And so it's nice to be able to add something to it and still keep a lot of what's existing, just to, one, not pay for it, but sometimes there's just a lot of charm in what's existing, and you want to keep that and keep the feel of what the original house is.
How do you stay abreast of construction methods and materials, and especially with energy efficiency, and there must be a lot of education.
Yeah, so there's the Northwest Eco Building Guild is really great, and there are education things they do like once a month year round, and then they have what they call the Slam and Summit once a year, which is actually coming up. And so it's a way of, they have classes you can take, and people show you all kinds of new products or things that they did on projects. And so you can keep seeing what other people are doing, and everyone finds a new product, and then they'll bring it forward and teach you about it. And so the nice thing, the Guild is more of education on people than anything. That's a big driving force. And so all builders that are a part of it will just collaborate and show off what they're doing and give techniques and what their projects are and products that they're using, because they don't feel it's like as much of a competition as just, they know one builder can't build every particular house on the planet. So you want to make sure that everybody is building in a good, healthy way. So there are classes you can potentially do with the Guild, and other things that if you go on their website, they'll have all kinds of information of products and systems.
I really appreciate your educating me and others as you're going through these presentations, and it's fascinating and gives us hope to know that people really care about the environment through your building. So
Yeah. because
Trying to do things smarter.
Yeah, I'm not sure at what point in our history that people decided to start building homes and other buildings that only have like a 10-year lifespan.
Mhm.
But I mean, things used to be built to last, 100 years. And that's the idea of a lot of what we're trying to do now is we want to build this so that the product lasts. You don't have to change things and it's going to be healthy. But now what we're coming into is we need to be very energy smart,
Mhm.
because we realized for a long time we're using a lot of energy. And so there's so many ways to do things now and make your house much more energy efficient. And one, you're spending less money, but two, you're also living in a healthier space because
Right. Boy, are
we
we
just
thinking about
putting
that
more-
today?
yeah, we just kept putting more toxins in our products and we didn't realize that they were just always gassing off.
Sure.
Now we do realize that. And so now we can pay attention to products that are not going to gas off. And then we're breathing in those gases, which is causing, more health issues than we can really even think of that it's actually causing. And a lot of it we don't know yet, but we'll find out in the future. Just like all this smoke that's happening right now, which
Right.
I think it even got worse.
It has. Yeah.
So this is where a really nice airtight house is really benefiting you. If you can filter your air and stay airtight in conditions such as we're in right now, you are making a much healthier home place to be in. Then I remember
Right.
one of my older homes I was in, it was just single pane old wood windows that were not airtight at all and no insulation. The place just leaked all the time. If I was in that house right now, I'd be smelling the outdoors. It wouldn't
Right.
be much difference.
Right. Right. It looks like several of your projects are in West Seattle. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we're doing a lot of projects in West Seattle right now. We actually live in West Seattle, so it's convenient for us.
Yeah.
Our office is in SoDo,
Mm-hmm.
which unfortunately no one's really coming to right now because
Right.
of what's going on. But it seems like we're doing a lot of projects in West Seattle right now, which is great for us. And a lot of our staff like it because most of them live in closer to the West Seattle neighborhood. So it's easy for everyone to get to.
Mhm. It's a great area.
Yeah.
And I think the scale of a lot of the homes in that part of Seattle is probably lends itself to some of the projects you're taking on, and you're not kind of creating some of these mega houses that I've seen in a lot of places, or maybe you do, but or you have, but I really like the scale of these.
No, I mean, the interesting thing is like a lot of these homes, yes, we're doing these additions and making them a much bigger home, but not, a massive home. What is interesting is we're taking away what we're calling the starter house. Like anybody who does an addition to a house,
Right.
kind of eliminating the starter house. So people who are trying to get their first house, they're getting harder and harder to find
Yep.
because all the homes are getting so big already. And you're like, oh, I can't afford to buy that yet. So maybe go into a condo or something first. But we've never been really big fans of creating your 4,000 or 5,000 square foot house. We want to create a house that's a comfortable size to be in without needing this mega structure that you don't use 80% of.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you're a family of 12, then you'll probably use it. But most people are, it's a
Right.
family of
Right.
maybe 4, and how much space do you need? And we're fine, at 1,500 square feet, it works great for us.
It really looks like you are listening to your clients, and really, to me, I have a sense of good communication. Just not only in your communication, but in the way these are fit. That it looks to me that they're really fitting the needs of these clients and you've had to listen to them to, you know, end up with these results you're showing.
Yes. And that's like, a lot of that comes down to the architects too, that are doing a lot of the design on this, or most of it. And we want to make sure that the architect and the homeowner can work together. And that's why we're not a design build firm.
Mm-hmm.
Like being able to send like 3-4 architects to a homeowner and say, meet which one you feel is going to be the best fit for you. Because sometimes, you know, it's people, it's not quite the right fit. They have 2 different views and it's just not going to work. So hopefully they can find the right architect, and then we can also work with them. And we like to work with existing spaces and
Mm-hmm.
give the homeowner what they want, but also bring in information to them that they just don't
Mhm.
have. A lot of times that's, you know, just small things, but they can make a big difference to the homeowner.
How many projects do you typically have going at any given time? Are you a fairly small?
So we have 4 field staff right now, and right now we have 3 projects that are going, but it can range anywhere from, you know, 3 to 6 projects depending upon what's involved on them, or, you know, what state they're in. Because sometimes you get to a project and the sheetrockers are in there and there's nothing for us to do. So we usually try
Right.
to
Right.
dovetail other projects in, so we're always
Sure.
keeping everybody busy.
Yeah, yeah. Is permitting a difficult part of some of these projects at all, or does that seem to flow fairly well in your experience up there?
We typically, the architect is dealing with most of the permitting,
Uh-huh.
and what we're finding is it is slow because the city has slowed down on how much they can actually do, because they're working on a little more of a limited staff right now. But they, you know, it's can take several months to get something going, and what we're finding is it's usually about 6 months from by the time you start talking to your architect to potentially getting a permit ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the architect's time frame and also the city's time frame. And
Mm-hmm.
some might be longer, some might be shorter, depending.
Right.
But also there's a scope of work on the project. If it's, you know, a small little addition, like you know, kind of extending your front porch or something, that's not too, you can get those permits quicker. But if it's something like this one, which is a 2-story, 2-story addition out the back of the house, which takes a full review, you know,
Yeah.
that's going to take more time.
Yeah, yeah. Is solar becoming a common part of many of the projects, or at least having that capability, or is that anything you're very involved with?
That's more like we can pose questions to the homeowner if they want it, but it's more of a homeowner driven thing if they want solar or not want solar.
Mm-hmm.
But the biggest key is, you know, depending upon where you live, if you have a bunch of trees blocking your house, there's no real point to get solar because you're not going to get hardly anything out of it,
Right,
especially for what the expense is.
right, right.
Years past, when the city was doling out so much money for it and giving all these credits and incentives, you know, it was worth it to do a lot of solar. But now none of those are existing anymore. So you have to really factor that into if you want to do that to your house or not. And we know people who are still doing it, but they know that they have the location for it. And this particular house, they could have done a chunk of solar for it because there are no trees that are blocking any sort of roof view, but it was an extra expense that the homeowner was not prepared to do at the time.
Right, right.
Sarah, thanks for joining us. If you have any questions, please chime in. I will just keep scrolling through pictures, and Doug and Bruce continue on. I'll go back and show the before pictures again, and then the after pictures.
Well, I don't want to monopolize your time. And again, I really, really appreciate your showing these projects. I've thoroughly enjoyed it and hope to talk to you more at some time.
Oh, yes, no, and thank you for
Yeah.
coming on and doing the whole tour. This is a unique thing that we're doing this year because we were able to do it live and in person. So hopefully we can let a lot of people see what these projects look like now, and everyone can get out the information that they want to get out on these projects.
It's been a pretty good turnout today. There's been quite a few people joining us, so I've been pleasantly surprised. We haven't had any dull moments, so that's good.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce.